What is up, mortals? Welcome to part 5 season 1 of What If Deku Was a Namu. Sit back and relax, you're in for a treat, and so we begin. I present to you all our newest member, Starfish. Kurogiri announced with a sense of satisfaction and pride in voice, standing straight in front of the band of villains. Dressed in a similar suit to the one Kurogiri wore was a confused-looking Izuku Midoriya. After a few days of close observation by Kurogiri, Deku earned a seal of approval. His body was stable and his grafted arm was showing no signs of rejecting the former hero's body. Therefore, Izuku was treated as the successful model of the earlier prototype, looking good, mindless monkey boy, twice complimented in only the way he could. "Yay, he's pretty sharp," said Dabai, walking up to Izuku and placing a hand on his head. "How's he coming along? Will he still be able to fight and able to understand me? Thus far he's much like I was when I was born, but in a few weeks his language skills will return. He'll even be able to accomplish complicated tasks when ordered. But since he's linked to you, it'll be your job to look after him in my absence." Dabai grunted, mulling over the idea. "Shouldn't be too hard. I always wanted my own goon," he replied with smirk, thinking of all the possibilities. "Good. With that out of the way, it's time to shift our attention towards future plans. As you know, we failed to kidnap our targets." Kurogiri started with mild disappointment. "We've also lost 2 of our other colleagues, Moonfish and Muscular. One to the hands of our newest recruit. Due to this, I've been advised by Sensei to gather you here to plan out our next courses of action." "Wait, did you just say that he?" Spinner pointed at Izuku. "Killed Muscular?" Kurogiri nodded. "Yes, rebirth can be quite messy. There was a miscommunication and Muscular attacked. Our dear recruit fell back on his instincts and took care of himself. He can't be blamed for that," Kurogiri replied, bringing a low tug to Spinner's lips. He didn't like this one bit. Stain would no doubt be disgusted with the situation, and while he wanted to put an end to it, there was nothing the follower could do. "Well, that's reassuring. He can keep himself safe and carry his own weight on missions without complaint, unlike some," Mustard replied, jumping into the conversation. He, himself, was rescued by the comer and Dabai. If it weren't for them, he'd be rotting in a cell. "Hey, you're one to talk. You got captured too." Toga huffed, annoyed. "Yes, but unlike you, I took care of all but one of my opponents." Before the verbal jabs could devolve into an argument, Tamura cut them short. "Shut up before I turn you both into dust piles. We have to think of the future of this organization. The heroes are panicked. The parents of those golden eggs are worried about their children. The iron is still hot and ready to be struck. I won't waste our momentum when we're winning." Tamura's short speech took control of the room. It was true to an extent. The world's attention was on them and All Might himself. So far, they managed to achieve small victory after victory over the heroes since they announced themselves to the world, their crowning achievement being the abduction and corruption of All Might's golden egg. "If you want to bicker amongst each other, you can find somewhere else to be." Toga pouted and Mustard looked away in shame. The madman's clear promise of revoked membership silenced them. A voice crackled over an intercom. Expertly said, "Tamura, this is what I've been raising you for. It's nice to see you leading your flock in a respectable manner." All for One said smoothly with a tone that gave off hints of a smile. "My dear boy, words can hardly express the pride I feel for you in this moment. Not only are you taking advantage of the situation before you, but you're plotting your next move without me. Marvelous." All for One let his pride show. His student was learning, maturing in a way that he feared he wouldn't achieve. "Now that you've all settled down, I think it's time I gave the tutorial of your new asset. Within his body are 5 quirks. The first 2 are Siren and Pitched Vision, a hypnotic and visual enhancement quirk respectively. His arm's quirks are based on marine life and contains the other 3. It can secrete a translucent fluid that hardens into a shell harder than steel, produce spikes that contain a powerful neurotoxin, and transform into tentacles meant to extend and capture prey. "So he's like a sea monster now?" Tamura asked, scratching his head. "More or less. The doctor was going through a marine biology phase at the time. Left whole. The Namu Midoriya-kun's arm came from just kept going berserk, but broken up it seems to have become stable," the king of the underworld explained, intrigued by the discovery himself. "Does that mean I can't drink his blood?" Toga chimed in, earning a twitch from the arm graft and a chuckle from All for One. "You could, but I can't ensure your safety after or during the act, little miss. He has quite the skill set programmed into his mental faculties." The older man chuckled, finding the villainess's behavior hilarious. She reminded him of the older, chaotic days of quirks. It did his old heart good to see the newer generation let go and indulge in their more sinister behavior. "Awa," Toga said, disappointed. "Then can I teach him how to stab people?" "No, crazy. He's my goon. I'm not letting you turn him into a psycho murderer." Dabai spoke definitely. He respected Stain, and though he'd never say it out loud, All Might as well. The pyromancer did plan to use the kid for his own means. while simultaneously teaching him the ways of staying himself. Before further pleasantries could be exchanged, an unexpected knock at the door came. Did someone order takeout? Someone on the outside asked before the wall of the bar was blown in. Or justice with a side of vengeance? All Might said with a stern look of malice that none had bore personal witness to. In an instant their motion functions ceased, held in the grip of terror brought on by the symbol of peace. Even Shigaraki found himself short of breath. No words managed to escape their lips, except for one. All Might. Before we get back into the story, I would like to say that we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes over the hard facts of the anime presented. Now, in case you guys didn't know, we have a third channel called Anime Theory. Anime Theory mainly focuses on a large variety of mind-boggling anime theories. If you are interested in content like this, please go check the description below or click the eye icon in the top right corner. Now, with that out of the way, let's get back into the story. Izuku instinctively looked at the man he'd admired his entire life with childlike awe. Even in this state, a part of him still recognized the symbol and extended his hand in the older man's direction. This act would prove to be to the villain's advantage, as it gave All Might just a moment's pause. Why, young Midoriya, my boy. From his voice alone it was clear that his heart was breaking. All Might had spent countless days and nights searching for his former apprentice, turning over every possible lead just to have this moment. All Might moved faster than anyone in the area could anticipate and took hold of the teen in a bear hug. I've got you now. No one else will hurt you while I'm here, he declared, tugging at the heartstrings of the villains themselves. Even as they were captured by Kamui Woods, they were locked in a state of empathy and fear. Izuku leaned into the embrace, following his instincts. Even the grafted arm became slack, knowing there was no threat to itself. For what you villains have done, you will pay dearly for your crimes. I promise this on my life, All Might swore as his personal retrieval team walked into the room, still clutching onto Izuku. All Might continued on. You've gone too far and pissed me off. Expect no quarter from me. All Might sounded truly ruthless in this moment, scaring even his fellow heroes. I peed myself. Get me out of here, twice said in a cross between crying and a panic attack. Toshi, calm down. You've got your boy back. You're going just off the reservation. Torino cautiously warned, fearful of what Toshinori would do if not reined in. Get him out of here while we handle these criminals. The wiser man advised, knowing it that even without All Might they could handle the situation. Toshinori took a look at the peaceful face resting on his chest and agreed. Let's get you home to your mother, Izuku, the symbol said quietly, ready to close the book on this nightmare. But with a startled look on his face, Izuku looked up at his idol as a black substance began to pour from his mouth. The former holder of One for All let out a gurgle before being pulled into the tar substance. NOOO. All Might screamed as his sole purpose for coming here dissolved in his arms. An explosion followed as the world around them began to shake from the tremors. The other villains themselves were moved in the same method of teleportation. I quote, I'll kill you, all for one, All Might declared, shooting off like a bullet in the direction of the conflict. On his heels, Mariko and Endeavor followed behind him, as best they could. Of all the heroes that came to help, these two understood All Might's rage best, having dealt with anger most of their lives. And of those two, Endeavor felt the pain and anguish of All Might's personal hell. After all, the flame hero had splintered his family due to causing a similar event to happen underneath his own roof to his eldest son. While this was happening, a separate group of future heroes were springing into action, spearheaded by Bakugo. The group of Uraraka, Shoto, Kirishima, Momo, Tetsu, Mezu, Takoyami, and Aoyama sat and wait, prepared to make their move, when a bird carrying a speaker around its neck landed on Momo's shoulder, the voice of Kuda coming out of it. Guys, the villains escaped with Izuku, but they're still close by. He's with the League members. All Might is going to fight the leader right now, Kuda informed. Kuda was scared, afraid his quirk and spirit wouldn't be enough to help anyone, so he agreed to help from the safety of the dorms, using Momo's speakers to channel his quirk and gather information for the group. Where are they, Doolittle? Bakugo half demanded, trying to temper himself as not to scare the frail boy. 2.5 miles east of your location. The birds say they're still disoriented, so if you go now you have a good chance of catching up to them, Kuda answered nervously. Thank you, Kuda, Momo said in genuine appreciation of her classmate. He may not have been suited for combat, but he tried and was there for them. You heard him. Move your asses, Bakugo ordered. They followed Kuda's birds to the location of the villains. It took them a few minutes, but luckily for the students, the villains seemed to just be regaining their senses. Time to execute plan. Useless nerd rescue. Bakugo turned his burning gaze towards Momo. Now, she nodded, creating grenades filled with knockout gas, while the others hooked them to Kuta's birds. After they were secured, Momo created gas masks for her friends. This was Bakugo's plan. He'd thought it up after hearing about how the extras in 1B were knocked out. He reasoned if it worked on 1B, it could work on villain extras too. In a storm of feathers, the grenades rained down on the villains, taking them by surprise. They heard a few of them yelp in surprise as thick clouds of knockout gas formed around them. The gas claimed Spinner, Magni, Compress, and ironically Mustard, who didn't have enough time to get his mask on, knocking the villains unconscious within moments. Kurogiri was still out cold due to Edshot's attack. The plan was so sudden and stealthy it might have worked if it wasn't for Deku. An air pressure shot up in the air, dispelling the noxious fumes and sending the birds flocking away. "Good job, son," Dabai complimented, readying himself for a fight. "All right, show yourselves, cowards," the villain demanded, scanning the area. "Who the hell are you calling a coward, asshole?" Byakugo demanded, raging, making his presence known. "Hey, you're the explosion guy, right? We had a mission to capture you and a bird boy before shit went sideways. Looks like we have a second chance." Blue flames wisping in his palms. "Check the math, loser," Bakugo said, mocking the villains. From behind him, his friends made themselves known. The explosive blonde smirked sinisterly. He was ready to break the villain's face. Bakugo opened his mouth to speak, but Uraraka beat him to the punch. "Give him back," she demanded. "You stole him from us. He shouldn't be there. He's supposed to be with me," she declared in anger and sorrow. She was so close this time, close enough to see him, her friend that had always been there for, protected her, comforted and encouraged her. The person she was in love with. "I knew it," Toga cheered. "He's the person you're in love with, isn't he? That's why you're so angry and sad. He's your Romeo, isn't he?" When Uraraka glared back at her, it was all Toga needed for proof. "Deku, get away from them," she pleaded. For a moment, Izuku paused, looking between her and Dabai, unsure of what to do. Unfortunately, before a decision could be made, a new arrival appeared, all for one using his form of teleportation. "It seems the programming wasn't as thorough as I hoped. A shame, really. But we have Stain to thank for that." The god of the underworld turned his attention to his followers. "Time for you all to go. I'll clean up this mess." Using his Force Quirk activation ability, he forced Kurogiri to open a portal and send his successor away. "No, Deku," responding to Uraraka's call and its host emotions. The Nomu arm shot forward, embedding itself in the ground to resist the suction of the vortex. Sadly, the ground gave way, taking Deku away with the others, losing him a second time. Uraraka fell to her knees with a broken heart. "Ah, young love, isn't it sweet?" All for one released an air-killing intent, freezing the UA students, closing the space. All for one took hold of Uraraka. A pity this love story has a tragic ending. Yet the best stories of this nature do have morbid conclusions. I know from experience, child. 3 people zoomed into the area. Ida attempted to kick the villain's head off, but was caught by the Dark Lord's free hand, a trickle of blood making its way down his palm. When the veteran villain found the cause, he realized that a blade was crudely attached to the rookie's shin. Stain came falling from the sky with his tongue extended. All it took was a lick of a single drop to paralyze the ancient criminal. Behind the killer, a girl with pink hair styled into 2 ponytails landed with a hop. "I got you, you son of a bitch." He raised his blade, marking the villain with shallow cuts to ensure there was a surplus of blood to keep the man down. "I'm gonna make you pay, you miserable bastard." All for one smiled from behind his mask. A thunderous impact landed, knocking Stain and the students away, kicking up dust. All Might had arrived. "Seems I can't catch a break." Boom. The impact of All Might's mighty fist broke All for One's mask and nearly killed the man. "What did you do with him?" All Might asked in a monotone voice. Raising his fist, Toshinori brought down another earth-shattering impact on the villain, this time shattering the villain's ribs, which in turn pierced his lungs. "What did you do to him?" All Might wrapped his hands around All for One's throat, slowly increasing the strength of his grip. With a bloody smile, All for One laughed. "It's too late for him now. He's already taken his first life. You've failed your teacher. You've failed her descendants, and where have your failures wrought them?" "Why me?" Toshinori's blood ran cold as his hated nemesis choked out his words. "You didn't know, did you? That woman you've been clinging to so dearly is Nani's daughter, and Shimura, and Tamura, my apprentice, is Nana's other grandson." All for One beamed through broken ribs and a fractured jaw. "Tell me, my old nemesis, can you face her daughter again, knowing the scale of your failures, as both a mentor and a father figure, when her mother abandoned her children for your sake? To think that poor thing entrusted her treasure to you." It took the combined strength of Mariko endeavor in Torino to pry All Might off of the defeated villain's throat. Torino himself, having heard All for One's every word to his student, was at a loss. He too wanted nothing more than for Toshi to pop the villain's head clean off. But the world was watching, so he along with the other pros were forced to drag away a grieving All Might. Today, even with All for One's capture, marked another defeat for the heroes. Thank you all for watching the video to the end. Now there is a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. On behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank the writer for this video, as well as the editor for this video. Their details will be in the description. If you're a voice actor, editor or writer, or you're interested in becoming one of those, go to the Discord that is in the description of this video and hit up the head of one of those areas. We're always looking for members to join us. That's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're interested, and hit that like button if you liked the video. Until next time, peace out mortals, have an amazing day.